All right. Hey guys, I'm back here with another social studies lesson. And I'm going to just start with an example of, actually a couple examples of some emperors and kings from the past, from history. This one right here, his name is Caligula. He was an emperor in ancient Rome. And you look at that statue and you might think, he seems harmless. But that's not the case. He was a very ruthless leader. But I'm not even just going to focus on his ruthlessness. I want to just share a couple examples of how much he abused his power. One way was he at one point wanted to appoint his favorite racehorse. So I'm talking about the animal, the horse, his favorite racehorse, to an important position in government. I'm going to say that again. He wanted to appoint his favorite racehorse to a very high position in the government. Okay. Not a great use of power, right? Another thing he wanted to do just to mess with people was, or actually he did do this. He wasn't able to do the racehorse thing because he was assassinated before he could even do it. But he was planning on doing that. This other thing, supposedly at least, this is something he did do, is sometimes he would write new laws and he'd put them in really small letters and then post them very high out in the public square so that people couldn't actually see them or read them. And the whole thing is he thought it was funny. He would punish them if they broke these rules. And he'd say, well, I had them posted, you should know, even though obviously they couldn't actually know. So, just imagine if a teacher did something like that and posted a rule that you can't wear sweatshirts to school and put it in tiny letters and put it really up high and then started giving you detentions and all that stuff. I don't think you'd be very happy, right? So definitely an abuse of power, okay? And an emperor, by the way, if you don't know, it's similar to a king. I won't go into all the details, but just think of it as that. Another example would be a man named King Henry VIII, who was an English king in the 1500s. And again, misuse of power. This guy changed his country's official religion from Catholicism to Protestantism, which is a different branch of Christianity, just so he could get a divorce. Okay, so the Catholic Church wouldn't let him get a divorce. So he literally changed his country's entire official religion so he could get a divorce that he wanted. And in fact, he actually went through 6 wives in order to try to get a son born to him because the other wives weren't birthing children that were males that survived infancy. So there was lots of issues. He actually had 2 of them beheaded too. Okay? That means he had their heads chopped off. So again, pretty brutal rulers, bizarre and crazy uses of their power. Why am I bringing this up right now, right? What does this have to do with U.S. history? None of those 2 individuals were from the United States. Well, it's important because those are just 2 examples of the danger of having a king or an emperor, of having one leader who has pretty much all the power. Because they can do whatever they want, right? And there's not much you can do to stop them. Revolutions can happen, which did sometimes occur, but you don't want your best option to be, hey, we can start a revolution where we start attacking leaders, killing them and overthrowing them, right? Ideally, you have a system that's set up better. So it's just, that's not the situation you find yourself in. So the United States found themselves trying to create a different system, okay? And the reason why we're covering this now is I'm doing a Constitution crash course because you guys didn't get to it last year because of COVID. So we're going to talk about the founding of the United States government, which the Constitution is the primary document. And we're going to be going through kind of what made this system what it was, okay? And like I said, the goals, now I'll mention a little bit later how the country hasn't always lived up to this, but the goals were to not have one leader have that much power like a king would, and to have individuals have rights, right? That everybody actually had rights as a human being, which I'll talk about in a second, wasn't always just assumed in the past, okay? So actually, I'll go ahead kind of and get to that. So the United States didn't invent representative democracy, which is what our government is considered. Okay, it's not a direct democracy. We don't literally all go vote on every law, but it is a democracy because we vote for officials, politicians who then represent us. So we still have a say in what happens by electing the individuals we want. We didn't invent democracy. That's something that was, thought of. It's usually attributed way back in ancient Greece. But that being said, it really wasn't being used for the most part in most countries in the world for a long, long time. Greece tried it out back then and then ended up leaving it. And yeah, like I said, hadn't really been used much. And so at the time the United States was founded, most countries were ruled by some form of a king or something like a king. And most had sort of these powerful classes of people who had power over other individuals. And so many individuals just really weren't given many rights. And I don't want to go too deep into this, but I just thought I'd show you a quick example of in England, around the time that the United States began to want to break free. This is a simplified version, but people were just born immediately into what class they were going to be into. And obviously, like, some of those classes had a lot of power and some didn't. Okay, if you're born into the monarchy, if you're a prince, a princess, you're part of the royal family. You might one day become king if you were the oldest boy, the prince. But either way, you're in a family with a lot of power. Okay, below that you had what was called nobility. Those were just like other people who had these very high-ranking positions. Oftentimes they were in charge, almost like in a way you'd think of a government, of overseeing certain areas of the country. And then below them, you had people who were called gentry, which was basically landowners. So then these people, the gentry, would own specific parts of land in each of those sections, but they didn't farm the land themselves. They just owned the land and then had to oversee the people who worked the land. And then they would have referred to the people who actually worked the land as peasants. And the peasants oftentimes were very poor, like I said, didn't have very many rights, so on and so forth. So just I wanted to give you a little snapshot of like one society at that time and what it looked like. And again, the U.S. was trying to push away from that system there. The Declaration of Independence, which is what was declared to say, we are no longer going to be a part of you anymore, England. We're going to be our own country. There's a famous line from that said, all men are created equal. Okay. And again, I want to stress that we need to understand that the United States has not always lived up to that claim, right? I mean, there was slavery for over 150 years. There's, after that, segregation and discrimination for Black individuals living in the United States. Women had, it's been a long road for them to get many rights. I mean, they couldn't even vote until 1919. So, I mean, I'm not going to list every example, but the country has kind of slowly had to try to push, or I should say the people have had to slowly try to push the government in the country to make sure we're living up to those ideals. And it's been a long story and we're still working on it. But that being said, even the idea and the effort to go to try this different model and to try to give people rights really wasn't something a lot of countries were doing at that time. So that's part of why we're studying it. And we're, of course, studying this to just understand how does our government work, and how can we continue to push it to be better and to fit what it was supposed to be like, right? The way that the founders set it out. Okay. So today's lesson is going to be it's going to be background. So I call it the road to the Constitution. And this is going to be a very quick kind of crash course on what led up to the country being at the point where they're going to start writing the Constitution. Okay. And that's literally my lesson question is what led up to the U.S. writing a Constitution for their new country. So I want you to have some of those, just the big stuff, the key background to understand how the country found themselves in that place. And I'll just show you real quick the assignment sheet. You're going to have a presentation that you're going to open where I put in just some bullet pointed notes that I want you to learn from. And I want you to just go through that. And then you're going to do this assignment where you're going to pretend like you're answering questions for like a friend you had who's wondering about the US. You're going to read the presentation to learn the information. Then you're going to go back and give your answers to your friend. Okay. Everything that he asks, you should be able to find the information for in the presentation. Just put it in your own words, right? As I've stressed with all the assignments so far. Okay. I think that's it for that. I am now going to switch and do a discovery education tutorial. So this video might be a little longer than your last couple. I made the assignment shorter today. It should be shorter because I knew that this video might go a little bit longer. Okay, because tomorrow you're going to use discovery education for the first time for your class this year. And so I want you to come in already knowing how to use it, how to get on, all that, so that you're not trying to figure that out tomorrow, okay? So I actually would like each of you guys to open your Chromebooks now if you're in class. If you're not in class, go ahead and just pull up the Discovery Education website, and we're gonna walk through a few key things about understanding Discovery Education. So I'm not gonna put my hat on every time I pause on this video because it's gonna take, there's gonna be a ton of them. So go ahead right now though, pause it and get your Chromebook out, or if you have your Chromebook out, go to discoveryeducation.com. Okay, so you should be on discoveryeducation.com. That's the web name that can get you there. This is what it looks like. The first thing I want you to do is, you can scroll up and down. I want you to scroll down to the middle where it has your two textbooks. There's a science one and there's a social studies one, and I want you all to click on social studies. Okay. Now it may have loaded you into one of a number of like 5 different possible courses. So it's very important we find the right course. Okay, so you're actually reading the right information. This is very, very, very important. So please pay attention. At the top, it says course. Okay, you're gonna not hit that tab, and it's gonna show you a bunch of different options. Okay, I want you to go to United States history, prehistory to present. Okay, United States history, prehistory to present. I'll show you that one more time. United States history, prehistory to present. Okay, that's the textbook we're going to be using. So you're going to see we're actually going to be skipping these first few because that's stuff you covered last year. And we're technically here over in chapter 4. All right, and everything is broken up in these different concepts that are marked out by a decimal number. Okay, and I'll just call it 4.2, 4.3, 5.1. You'll hear me say that. That's what it's referring to. All right, we're going to be doing for this first unit 4.2 and 4.3. Okay, so we're going to start with 4.2. So go ahead again and just follow along with me. Click on 4.2, and that's going to take you into the stuff we're doing. Now you're automatically pulled up in the Engage tab. We won't use that much this year, okay? So don't worry too much about that. The one that you're gonna pretty much almost entirely use is the Explore tab. When you click on Explore, it's gonna give you different reading tabs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And each concept has a different number of tabs in it. I'm always gonna tell you what tabs you're using for a given assignment. So this one you'll do tomorrow is tabs 2 through 4. So you would start by going to tab 2, okay? And that's the reading for 2, of course, but you would have to remember then you're gonna do tab 3 and tab 4 for that reading, so you would do all of them and use them for that assignment. I want to show you a couple things, and honestly, that's it. So as long as you've been following along and you're in the right spot, then you're good to go. And if at any time you're behind, just pause this video, get caught up on the steps you've missed, and then you should be good to go, okay? So the first thing is language, and this is another one that's very important. First of all, I want you to see, if you can see on my screen, that Spanish is an option, okay? So if English is your second language and Spanish is your first language, and you're struggling with the given reading, you can always bring it completely to Spanish and read it there, or you can use it just to check your understanding. You know, I'm gonna trust you to kind of use that the best way that you can use it. The other thing you need to see is between level A and level B, and this is another thing I want you to figure out and just choose it right now today, okay? Because if you don't click it now and you forget, I have had students who I all of a sudden realized, you know, like last year, I would see like in November, December, you're on reading level A, and I know that they've been struggling with their reading a lot, when they could have been on reading level B. Okay, so reading level A is a harder version, and reading level B is just an easier version. It just makes it easier to comprehend. And I will say, like, reading level A is like particularly high level. I would not even say that's like an 8th grade on level reading. I think it's a little bit above 8th grade. So if you really, I mean, if you're a very strong reader, then I go ahead and do level A. I want you to push yourself. But for a lot of readers, it's just going to be a reality that level B is going to be a better fit for you. So I recommend, unless you know you're like a particularly strong reader for your grade, go ahead and do reading level B, because it's going to make more sense to you. Okay. So go ahead right now and set that language level at whatever it is best for you. Click it, and then it'll stay that way unless you change it. Okay. The last thing actually is just highlighting and what that can do. So like, for example, you can highlight over an entire section or one section at a time, and you can have the Discovery Ed program read it for you. So once I highlight it and I let go, it gives me options of things to do. And the option you do is speak text. So like I said, you can chunk it, which honestly I think is smarter than just having to go all at once. And you can click this and you can just listen.
The framers opens in a new window. Began to agree that an entirely new Constitution opens in a new window was needed. They put forward many new ideas.
I have no idea why it kept saying opens in a new window. I've never seen it do that before. Hopefully it doesn't keep doing it. But either way, as you saw, it read most of it for you. It's one of those weird robotic voices, so it's not the most pleasant in the world. It's not like, if we had Morgan Freeman reading it, that'd be awesome. But we don't. So that'll help you if you prefer to be able to listen to it as you read. And like I said, you can do it for the whole page at once if you want. The other thing you could do is, and a lot of students have found this helpful, is as they're reading, they might want to highlight things or even highlight and take notes on certain parts of it. So they can come back to it later, even on like a test, because I let you use your textbook for your test. That can be helpful if you highlight it and then oh, I'm going to go find that information later. So let's say you found something in this paragraph, like these 2 sentences, are really important. Again, do the regular highlight, but then to actually keep it highlighted, make it like yellow, you would click this button right here and you could pick a color and then it's highlighted. Okay. And it stays like that unless you cancel that. Another version of that is to highlight it first and then click take notes, and then you could jot some notes up there. And I'm going to delete that note because I don't actually need it, and I will delete that highlight because I don't actually need it. That is all the big stuff I wanted to touch on for Discovery Education. Again, make sure you can get in, that you know how to get to the right course, prehistory to present. That you know how to get to 4.2 and then can get to explore and go to the different tabs for reading, and make sure you have your language settings set at what's going to work best for you. All right, that's all I got for you guys. The assignment, read through the presentation, The Road to Constitution, and fill out the sheet that is attached with it, the Road to Constitution assignment. And good luck. Have a good one.